Hey folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I am your host, bringing to you important information. What I want to talk to you today is a book called 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It is by Dr. Boyce Watkins. You go to YouTube, youtube.com, put in Boyce Watkins, B-O-Y-C-E. Check out his what do they say? Subscribe to his YouTube channel. I mean, the guy, he's very productive. He's very productive. He's very prolific. I mean, he's just putting it out there, and putting it out there. He's always putting out something useful, challenging, stimulating. He's a Kentuckian. That's the other thing I like about him. He's a Kentuckian. I do not always agree with him as far as his politics is concerned. But man, when it comes to talking about wealth building, generational wealth, etc., and this guy more often than not, I mean, it's hard for me to disagree with him. One of his most recent books is 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You need to check it out. I'm going to read an excerpt from it. This is page 134. Money is not just for spending, it is a capital base. And this statement alone should get you thinking. Let me repeat that. Money is not just for spending, it is a capital base. Let me just read this real quick here. If you ask a 5-year-old what money is used for, he might say something simple like, I can use it to buy candy. The child hasn't learned much about all the other uses of money. They know nothing about investing, charity, financial security, paying bills, or taking care of a family. They've never experienced the stress of trying to get off the corporate plantation. So, as a result, the child simply sees money as a way to buy things. Folks, if there is one thing, I guess you might say curse or shortcoming that you see in urban black culture, or if you see amongst black folk in the United States, regardless of where they live or how they live in the United States of America, too many of us black folk are into consumerism. Too many of us are into consumerism. Hey man, if you're making a good chunk of change, there's nothing wrong with you in enjoying yourself, buying something nice, luxury. But you also need to put as much time, effort, and thought into investing your money. And investing your money in such a way that your money's making money. That's how you become wealthy. Being rich is when you got all sorts of money coming in, you got a great cash flow coming in, and you just buy a bunch of stuff. That's being rich. But eventually, rich stops. And if you don't understand that, if you don't think you don't understand that, and I'm really talking to black folk right now. If you don't understand that, then maybe you understand this. Lottery winners, the vast majority of them, after a few years, are flat broke. Many of them are doing worse financially a few years after having won the lottery. Professional athletes making big money, insane contracts, tens of millions of dollars, a few years after they're retired, flat broke. And these are stats, folks. These are stats. These are hard numbers. So, being rich is great. That's fine. What is it, 50 cents? Get rich or die trying. But let me tell you something. 50 Cent, he now understands it's better to be wealthy. He's working on being wealthy. What does that mean? That means he's investing his money in such a way that his money is making money. That's wealth. That's what it means to be wealthy. Okay? And so as black folk, we need to, average black folk like me, just average guys, going from check to check. Hey, buying stuff is fine. Buying consumer products, that's fine, that's good. But we also need to include in that how to think as owners and how to think as investors. We need a paradigm shift. We need to get away from all this, bling bling stuff and jewelry and fancy cars. And you're talking about, okay, I'm going to buy this big fancy car that Ford Motor Company puts out. Why don't you also be thinking about buying Ford Motor Company shares? Why don't you also be thinking about investing in the Ford Motor Company as a shareholder? Okay? It's all fine and good you're out here buying all this fancy jewelry and stuff, but why don't you also think about owning jewelry companies, retail shops, buying them and owning them? Okay? Why don't you also be thinking about, hey, having direct contact with some of these African nations, some of these entrepreneurs in African nations who are bringing out this gold and silver. And then you get that raw product and you go somewhere else and they'll turn it into jewelry for you. Then you can import it into the United States and sell it. Okay? Start moving away from being a consumer to an investor. Start moving away from the mindset of being a consumer to being an owner. Think about that. I think it's all fine and good. A lot of these brothers, black male athletes, they got these shoe contracts. Hey, I got this shoe contract with Nike, but you find out real quick, you can get that stuff cut off. You get that stuff cut off. All right. Hey, why don't you start thinking about starting your own shoe company? Start your own shoe company, or start seeking out black entrepreneurs who can design these shoes for you, negotiate contracts with these manufacturers overseas, and then import this stuff, and you start your own distribution network. Okay, just do your own. Or why don't you also just start thinking about, hey, I'll just buy Nike stock. You set up contracts with Nike, and you just say, hey, my contract, I'll help you with marketing and promoting Nike and all, in exchange for a certain amount of cash up front and $30,000 shares in Nike, or 50,000 shares in Nike, or 75,000 shares in Nike, and then 25,000 shares of Nike to my favorite charity. Because then what happens if somebody goes crazy and they say, oh, he's anti-trans and he's anti-Semitic and he's anti-this, he's anti-that, then Nike, coming under that political pressure, if you have a shoe contract, they can take that away. But if you own Nike stock, ain't nothing they can do. Legally, there's nothing they can do. You own you're a shareholder in the company. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing they could do. If Kyrie Irving had 50,000 shares in Nike, he owns 50,000 shares in Nike, and then Nike gets upset. Nike comes under some pressure. They say, oh man, Kyrie, man, come on, man. I gotta cut you off this shoe deal. I mean, I know it's gonna be good. I know it would put money in both our pockets, but I'm under this pressure. I got to cut that shoe deal off. Now Kyrie's got to run around and look for somebody else to offer him a shoe deal. No. If Kyrie had worked out a deal with Nike and said, well, I want 50,000 shares in your company. If you give me 50,000 shares in your company, I'll do X, Y, and Z for you. And then if that company ever comes under political pressure, you know what Nike says to that pressure group? Hey, man, nothing I can do. He's a shareholder. Nothing I can do. He's a shareholder. I can't force him to sell his shares. So when you have that mindset of no longer, and I'm speaking to black folks, particularly you're that hip hop generation, and black males within that hip hop generation. Man, I get the consumerism, but you gotta sort of move. I'm not saying completely move off the consumer thing, but I'm saying you also gotta move and think as an owner. Think like an owner. Think like an investor. Okay? Think about what assets you can buy that's going to put money in your pocket. How your money can make money, make you money. You want to be wealthy, all right? Nike pays a dividend. For just owning Nike stock at the present time, it pays a dividend. So just for owning Nike stock, Nike will pay you a little something every quarter for owning their stock, owning their shares. So this book, let me get back to this book here. 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Boy, you better get it and read it. It's powerful. And it's simple. And I'm not saying it's simple as far as the substance is concerned, but in a very simple way, in a very understandable way. Boyce, he puts out some serious thought. I mean, he's like, whoa, you read that, you just read one of his chapters, you can be walking away shaking your head. So, oh my Lord, I never thought of that. But that's what get that book, 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And let me say this too, real quick. Recently, black man, he was like the DJ in the Ellen DeGeneres show. Am I saying her last name right? Would that matter? And he committed suicide. They say he committed suicide. Now, there's some debate about whether or not he actually committed suicide. So, conspiracy theories are always going to prop up when a celebrity, when something happens to a celebrity. So, as it stands right now, this talented, popular, very charismatic young black man committed suicide. And what I heard was that one reason why he might have committed suicide is because he made this financial investment and it just blew up, didn't work out well. Let me tell you something. And I guess right now I'm speaking to black folk who, who make a good chunk of change and are really out there in the public eye. Let me tell you something. Cardi B, I don't know who some of these other rappers are. Y'all need to sit down, get a hold of companies like Capital Guidance. It's here in Kentucky. You need to sit down quietly, discreetly, have a real serious discussion about your financial situation. Folks, let me tell you something. If you the most sensible thing you can do is put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars into companies like, I don't know, Apple, Google, Ford, Walmart, or even Carver Bank. Look these companies up. I'm telling you, Carver Bank. And check out publicly traded black-owned companies. Check them out. I'm not saying buy them. I'm just saying check them out. I'm not even saying buy Ford. I'm not saying buy Jaguar. I'm not saying buy a Walmart. I am saying check them out. Do your research. I'm really saying, do your research. Folks, it would be a cold day in hell before you would lose all your money when you buy solid companies. It's about investing in buying shares in solid companies, about investing in solid companies. You don't need to do crazy stuff. Why are you doing crazy stuff? When's the last time you ever heard of somebody and they say, I had 100,000 shares in Walmart and I lost it all? When's the last time you ever heard that? When's the last time you ever heard, oh my God, I put $250,000 in buying Walgreens stock and I lost it all? Come on, people, think. When's the last time you ever heard someone say, hey man, I put $20,000. I bought $20,000 in McDonald's stock. I'm flat broke. I'm thinking about committing suicide. What? When's the last time you ever heard something like that? Buy solid companies. Buy solid companies. People want to talk about, I bought this, I started this restaurant franchise. Why are you starting a new restaurant franchise? Why don't you just investigate buying into the McDonald's franchise or the Wendy's franchise, buying shares in those? And Wendy's and McDonald's, by the way, I think they even pay a dividend. Why are you doing this crazy stuff? Every day, every day you buy stuff from companies. You buy products from companies or services. And you like it. You enjoy it. And the first thing you ought to do is go say, hey, I buy these shoes. Let's say you buy shoes you like Adidas or Nike. First thing you ought to do is like, man, I like these shoes. I'm going to go out. I'm going to check out the company, see if they, see how I can go about buying some shares in the company. It's really easy to do. Or you may go out to a restaurant. You may like, what's this one place? McDonald's, Wendy's, and there's another one I can't think of right offhand. But you like those products. Well, yeah, check out buying shares in those companies. You go to Walmart, Target, okay, Kroger. You like the shopping experience. You go back. You're a repeat customer. You should look at buying shares in those companies. I bet you every rapper you can think of at one time or another has bought a Coke or a Pepsi. Think about it. Bought a Coke or a Pepsi. And I bet you that young brother I just talked about, who's the DJ for Ellen DeGeneres, I bet you he's drank Coke or Pepsi. I bet you he's liked it. And then, and I really don't know anything about his financial stuff. I'm just sort of speculating here. So I don't want to be disrespectful to him or his family. But I'm just saying, that people like him, hey, if you like that product, go check out that company. Go check out the Pepsi company. Go check out Young Brands. Go check out Coca-Cola and see, is it a good company? If it is, why not buy shares in it? You don't have to do these crazy, insane investment things where, a year or two down the road, you've lost everything. I mean, folks, I'm not a certified financial planner, but I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of research. And from what I've read and researched so far, Pepsi and Coca-Cola ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. They still make the money, and they're everywhere. I think a lot of people would say, yeah, for the most part, they're pretty solid companies. They're publicly traded companies. You can buy shares in those companies. And I don't know about Pepsi, but I do know Coca-Cola pays a dividend. So why are so many of these young brothers, these wealthy brothers, are doing just this crazy stuff? Man, just take all that money and buy good companies. You know who does that? You know who takes money and buys good companies and makes money? Warren Buffett. You know who else does that? Ray Dalio. You know who else does that? Peter Lynch. You know what other companies do that? Who do that? I can name them. BlackRock, hedge fund. That's what hedge funds basically do. Hedge funds, mutual funds, they buy companies. They take a capital and they buy companies. Folks, you can do the same thing on an individual basis. You don't have to get into these crazy investment schemes, whatever. As an individual, broke as me, you could search for good companies and buy them. If you got $5 in a debit card or credit card, literally, no exaggeration. So, the brother, who's the DJ who allegedly committed suicide, hey, you don't have to do no crazy stuff, right? You got an extra 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever. So, look for some good companies, some solid companies. Read a book, do a little research, and say, okay, I'm going to buy $5,000 worth of Coca-Cola. I guarantee you, I can almost guarantee you, there's no guarantee in life other than death and taxes. But I think most certified financial planners will say, okay, it's not a bad move. Or you buy index funds. Hey, I've heard of some professional athletes, put, millions and millions of dollars in some crazy stuff. Dude, really? Put millions and millions of dollars into an index fund or a mutual fund or 2-3 solid companies like Coca-Cola, Kroger, Ford, Walmart, Walgreens, Target. Those are just a few. There are thousands of choices. So I just wanted to put that out there. I want to conclude here. 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Check it out. It's a good one. I hope at some future date to do a, what do they call that? A Zoom, like a Zoom conference to have a discussion about this book and really some other stuff that Dr. Watkins has put out there. Hey, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host. Go to my website, booktalkwithcorbin.com. Please subscribe. Check out my other podcasts. And also, I'm on Facebook. No, I'm YouTube. Go to YouTube. Subscribe to my channel, Book Talk with Corbin. And just Corbin Series. Just put that in there. And I need subscribers so I can keep doing what I'm doing. Appreciate it, folks. It's been good talking to you. Of course, you probably more than likely you will hear from me tomorrow.